Hello, my name is Jeremy. I'm talking about the injection system, specifically for R-22, but they're pretty wide for any helicopter. There's two major types of injection system. The injection system is how the air is brought in from the outside of the helicopter, mixed with the fuel, and then sent into the combustion chamber so the engine will run properly. Two major types of injection systems. One is a fuel injection system, the other is a carburetor system. The fuel injection system shoots the fuel directly into the cylinder heads and mixes the air and the fuel just before shooting it in there. More prevalent in the industry is the carburetor system. Carburetor systems have two different types of carburetor systems. The first one is a pressure system. The pressure system uses a fuel pump to pump the fuel into the carburetor. What we have on the R-22 is a float carburetor. Float carburetor comes from its name because of the float. This is a float carburetor picture behind me. And you can see right here in the float chamber, we have a float. That's what controls the amount of fuel that goes into the actual carburetor to mix with the air. This right here is the float chamber. Right here is where the fuel comes into the float chamber. Our little float ball is connected to a valve that determines how much fuel is being released through the nozzle. The more fuel, the less fuel, or the more fuel in the float chamber, the less fuel that's going to be able to go into the nozzle. The less fuel, the more fuel that has to go through the nozzle because the fuel itself is not creating enough pressure. The way this works is outside air is sucked in through the side of the cowling and pushed up right through here, coming up underneath. As you can see, the edges are concaved in, which causes a venturi, makes a low pressure area. The low pressure area sucks the fuel out of the fuel nozzle right here, and right here is where we get air mixture. This is a butterfly valve that we control from the inside of the helicopter. So the fuel gets sucked up, it gets mixed with the air, it passes the butterfly valve, and then goes into the actual cylinder heads where combustion happens and makes the engine run. There are some major downfalls to a float type car. First one is going to be abrupt movement. You can tell just by floating water here and a venturi type system, major abrupt movements could impede the fuel from flowing correctly the way that it's supposed to. The second one is going to be vaporization. With both fuel injection and a pressure system, there's more pressure right here blowing the air into, or blowing the fuel into the air, which is going to cause the fuel to vaporize more, which in turn will cause it to burn better. In a float type car, we're strictly limited to the low pressure area right here, which doesn't allow the fuel to vaporize nearly as well. But the major downfall of a float type carburetor system is carb ice. Because we have air moving so much faster right here, and because vaporization causes a cooling effect, we can really get carb ice. Now, carb ice is going to build up all around here in the venturi port because the air is moving faster right here. Carb ice is also going to build up right up here around the butterfly valve. Well, when we get carb ice building up, it creates less room for the fuel air mixture to get into the engine, and that decreases our power. We do have some things to battle carb ice, though. Number one is going to be carb heat. Carb heat, when you pull the carb heat lever, it takes heat from off of the exhaust pipes and pipes it up through here so that you have hotter air coming in. Hotter air is going to melt the carb ice, and then it's going to give you no carb ice in here and back to your original power. Of course, when you pull up on the carb heat lever, you are going to lose a little bit of power by adding carb heat to it, but you gain a whole lot more power by not having any carb ice, which could be a very bad problem. If you have too much carb ice build up, you can actually get to the point that not enough fuel is getting into the engine, and you shut off your engine. So this is a float type carburetor. This is the type of carburetor that is on the R-22 helicopter. Just to recap, the other types of induction systems are fuel injection and carburetor systems, and there are two types of carburetor systems. There are float carburetors and there are pressure carburetors. Have a great day.